South Carolina lawmakers return to Columbia for the 2024 legislative session. Today, I talk one-on-one with State Representative Marvin Pendarvis of House District 113, Charleston County, for this edition of Quintin's Close-Ups. And if you haven't already, subscribe to my YouTube channel and like Quintin's Close-Ups on Facebook. State Representative Marvin Pendarvis, welcome back to Quintin's Close-Ups.
It's good to be back. It's been too long, my friend. Happy New Year to you.
I appreciate it greatly. Needless to say, you're a state representative for House District 113, which covers mostly Charleston County. So tell me right now, Representative Pendarvis, what's new, what's now with House District 113?
Well, this is my 7th year in the General Assembly, and what we're doing this year is taking a new approach to old problems. Affordable housing is still a big issue in our district. We know that there's an issue with economic mobility. And we know that we have to do something with infrastructure and food insecurity. And so all of it is interrelated. We've been taking a real intentional approach about trying to collaborate with groups that are trying to address these problems, seeing what we can do from the General Assembly as far as getting funding to help support groups that are working to address these issues, and then also filing pieces of legislation that are aimed towards addressing the problematic root. So, very excited about this year. Obviously, we know there's a lot of work ahead of us, but my team is committed to doing what we can to benefit the people of District 113 and in turn improving the lives of the people of South Carolina.
So in your 7 years, obviously in that particular seat, state representative, what was the last population figures for District 113?
So we just had our census, and so I'm in a new district. Previous to that, the last census had each legislative district roughly 38,000. Right. Now we're talking about roughly 41,000, 42,000 each legislative district. So there's been a significant population increase in each district. And we know that the state of South Carolina, the population is 5.5 million. So we're growing. And by 2030, that number is going to be substantial. And so we've seen a boom in our population. Obviously, it's benefited the city of North Charleston, where most of my district is. Yes, we've seen that economic prosperity. But the question that myself and so many other elected officials have to ask is who's the beneficiary of that economic prosperity, and how can we ensure that that's equitably distributed across the district?
So where exactly is that economic prosperity happening in your district?
Well, I'd say we see a lot of it here in the Park Circle area where I live. We see what's happening with the redevelopment of the old naval base. We see what's happening with the new inclusive park around Park Circle. We know that Park Circle in general is an area where people are moving to. The property values are increasing. There's a lot of businesses, restaurants, and entertainment that people can have its own downtown North Charleston. We see the economic plans for an even more robust downtown North Charleston for the redevelopment of the old base here in the next in the next century, in the next decade. Sure. And so there's a lot of development here. There's a lot of growth here. We know that growth is concentrated in the Park Circle area and the neighborhoods around it. And that's a good thing. And now it's about making sure that we can ensure that growth is benefiting everyone, that we're intentional, that we are able to temper that growth with the infrastructure to support it, and making sure that benefits all the people of our district of North Charleston.
So how can you have that type of growth, state representative, without gentrifying most of those neighborhoods nearby, Shakur, Cherokee, and others?
Well, that's one of the problems. We know that gentrification is real. Displacement is real. And one of the things that I wrote about in the Post and Courier a couple of years ago was this concept called incumbent upgrading. And I posed the question, can we gentrify without displacement? In other words, can we ensure that we develop a community and improve the community in a way where the infrastructure improves, where the amenities improve, where we attract businesses, where we attract all these other entertainment venues, but still keep people in place. And so a lot of it deals with improving the economic condition of the people that live in the district. One, we want to make sure that we're putting people in a financial position to be able to stay in their homes. and to be able to stay in the area. And so we have to make sure that we increase wages. We have to make sure we deal with the wealth gap and addressing that in a meaningful way. A lot of it deals with housing. We know that housing and owning a home goes a long way into building wealth. And so we have to make sure that we're making access to housing affordable and accessible to all. And so that's going to be a big part of it. We know that one of the unintended and sometimes you can argue intended consequences of growth and development is gentrification, but we want to make sure that we limit that. We want to make sure that we're bringing people into our area while not displacing them. And it can be done. I think there's a balance that could be struck. And that's something that my team and I have been exploring these last couple of years. And we believe we've got some things in place to be able to address it in partnership with the city of North Charleston, Charleston County, and some other groups around the area.
So where exactly in your district does infrastructure actually need to be improved right now?
Well, we've got the LCRT. That's going to be a big part. And so preparing for that, we know that there are areas on the south end that need sidewalks, that need roads improved. We know that there are areas that need the infrastructure in place to support mass transit, to support mobility through walking, bicycling. We want to make sure that we're opening all modes of transportation to the public that need it. And that's one of the things that we've been working towards. And that issue is more pronounced on the south end.
Now, Mr. Representative, let me ask you this then. We know obviously about Park Circle, and there's a lot of new businesses opening there, including Bird A that just opened today. But what is the typical wage right now in your district 113?
Well, I would say this, it's not enough. We've been fighting for $15 an hour, and that's not even enough to really support people in this day and age, especially in our district. I will tell you that in District 113, the wages vary, right? There are people who are middle class, working class people in parts of the district where they're making a good living, right? And so you're talking about people who are making $50 to $60 to $70,000 an hour, $1,000 a year, and are able to support their families in a meaningful way. And then there are people who are struggling, right? There are people who are trying to make ends meet. And aren't able to do that. And we've got to be able to stand in the gap for those people and try to provide them with resources to be able to take care of their families, to make sure that they're fed, to get decent and quality health care and to be in a home. And so wages goes a long way into ensuring that, and that's something that we're working toward.
This is a redundant question, State Representative, but what resources do you need to close that wealth gap in your district?
We need to increase the wages. I mean, we need to ensure that affordable housing is that accessible and affordable to all. We need to make sure that we're improving the economic outcomes in our communities. And so how do we address the education system here? How do we make sure that we're putting people in jobs and connecting them to the opportunities that are coming here? That's how we address the wealth gap, right? A lot of it deals with housing. A lot of it deals with infrastructure. I mean, we're prosperous in an economic way. We're blessed about the development that's happening here. But again, it's about making sure that that's seen and felt in every corner of our area.
So let me ask you this then, State Representative. How do you actually grow your district with smart growth?
And it goes back to what I mentioned earlier, Quinn, which is we have to be intentional about how we grow. We have to understand that we have a diverse district. I look at my district as a microcosm for what we have here in the city of North Charleston and really Charleston County, which is a melting pot of people, of different backgrounds, of different socioeconomic statuses, of different religious beliefs, right? And a different sexual orientations, right? We have a very diverse district, and we have to make sure that we're catering to everyone in this district. So much of that goes towards growing in a way that understands that we need to make sure that we have the infrastructure in place to support the growth, but also making sure that the growth is one that's not going to displace people, that's going to bring people along and improve the economic outcomes in our area. And so we're doing everything that we can to get toward that.
So what infrastructure projects are going on in your district right now?
The LCRT down on the south end, that's a big part, right? We know that the city of North Charleston is redeveloping the old naval base. And so you've seen that. That's going to be something that's big. We know that the old paper mill closed and that the Ports Authority is looking to acquire that to expand their operation. And so that's going to be something that we need to be paying attention to, down the road. We know that the city of North Charleston just finished its inclusive park that's there, and they're also redeveloping the old Danny Jones Center. And so there's a lot of development happening. There's a lot of you know, they always say when you walk around the city, you see cranes, that's a good thing. That means there's growth and that means there's potential. And I look at North Charleston in that same vein. But again, I harken back to what I previously mentioned. We have to make sure that that's felt in all areas of our district.
So, State Representative, when it comes to this obviously new development that the State Ports Authority is attempting to acquire, how many jobs do you think that will bring to your district?
I'm not sure, but obviously that's going to be, they haven't put those numbers out specifically. It's in the early phases. They've committed themselves to trying to acquire the land to expand their operation. But I suspect that it'll bring jobs and we'll get that information as it comes. The port has an economic impact on the state of South Carolina. It's a large one. And it's not in the hundreds of millions and the billions as far as the economic impact that the Ports Authority has on the state of South Carolina. We know that goods are shipped here and shipped from here. And so it plays a big part of what we do here in South Carolina. It's the economic engine that allows our state to run. And so we have a special obligation to obviously support them. And I'm interested to see the jobs that they say are going to support the community.
Now, you talk about the community. So with the economic impact over the past couple of years with the State Ports Authority, how much money has actually come back to your district to help your district improve its quality of life?
Well, I can't quantify that, Quinn. What I can tell you is that the Ports Authority and I have a good working relationship. I try to get as much information from them to find out exactly what it is that the district is doing, how they can support some of the initiatives that are going on in my district, and also how we can make sure that they're doing and what they say they're going to do in providing the kinds of jobs that are going to benefit the people in my district, the city of North Charleston, and really our region as a whole.
Now, with that project, State Representative, have the bids gone out for this project yet?
Again, it's in the early phases, Quentin, so I can't speak to that. I'm not in a position to say that with any kind of authority.
Yes, sir. Now, going back to your district, what's more important now for your district, State Representative? Is it building new homes and commercial space, or rehabbing, expanding, and better utilizing the existing space?
Well, I think we have to look at it both. Every space is different, right? And so I'm not going to say it's an either or, it's a both and. A lot of it depends on the area that we're in. There are places that we're going to have to rehab, and then there are places we're going to have to build new homes. A lot of it depends on the uniqueness of the particular plot of land, what the city is looking to do in that particular area, the land that surrounds it, right? And how we want to attract any potential businesses and opportunities around it. So it's a both-and approach. We want to make sure that we're doing everything that we can to support growth and development in a smart and intentional way.
How many minority businesses do you want to attract to your district?
We want to attract a lot, right? I've been on the record of saying we want 30% affordable housing, 30% minority businesses with anybody that does business with the city of North Charleston. And I recognize that that's not always achievable, but we have to quantify it in some specific number. And I want to make sure that we do everything that we can to hold developers and these groups that are looking to build in our area accountable, and also, hold it to some measure that they can look at and saying, this is what we think will be able to really benefit the people of our area.
So what incentives do you want the developers to bring into your district?
Well, we just want to make sure that they're doing everything they can to support the businesses, to support some minority contractors. We know that minority contractors aren't often thought about in these areas. And I think I have a special obligation, to make sure that we're doing everything that we can to bring them to the table.
Now, going back obviously to what you said earlier about obviously rehabbing and building new homes, what areas in your district right now need rehabbing?
Well, the South End. There are areas on the South End. If you drive down Rivers Avenue, going from 526, just look left, look right, and you'll know what I'm talking about.
So, and obviously you want to build new homes. So how many new homes do you need for that district to keep up with the growth of the city of North Charleston?
I don't have that specific figure, Quentin, but what I will tell you is, the last figure that we had was there about 50 people moving to this area a day. I imagine that number has increased significantly since it was last reported. We're going to need, what I can tell you is that we're not able to build enough to keep up with the growth. And so whatever that number is, we're not building enough. And so we're going to have to do a better job of making sure that we can support the growth. A lot of it depends on how we grow. We have to be intentional. We have to be smart with our growth. It's not just building homes for the sake of building homes. But we have to make sure that we're smart in how we grow, and that's going to be in a methodical way, in a way that's going to be able to support the community.
So what do you really need for your district as far as housing? Is it affordable housing? Is it attainable housing or workforce housing?
It's all the same, Quinn. I mean, we can get into the semantics about it. Affordable housing is housing that's going to attract the kind of workforce we need for businesses to come. It's going to be able to be attainable for the people that want to get it. And so I don't get into how we word it. Specifically, at the end of the day, housing is housing, and we need to make sure we get people in homes that's going to be affordable, that's going to be accessible, and that's going to benefit our community.
Now, what type of homes do you need? Do you need multiplex? Do you need single family homes?
There's going to be a multitude of those homes. We're going to need. I'm gonna have to get out of here soon to
Yes,
Quintin
sir.
too. So you can because I got to speak at another event.
Sure.
So ask that question again so you can edit it.
Yes, sir. So let me ask you this. Now, what type of homes do you need currently for your district? Is it multiplex homes? Do you need single family homes?
Oh, well, I mean, obviously we're going to need multiplex and apartments and all of that are going to be how we house a lot of people. I think the way we look at housing is different. And so you see a lot of apartment units popping up, these multi-units that are going to allow us to house a multitude of people. But also there are areas where single family homes are going to be necessary and people who are looking to start and grow families, and they're going to want to look at that as well. So it's going to be a combination of both. We want the perfect mix that's going to be beneficial to our district, and that's going to allow us to grow in the way that we want to.
Now, do you want to not personally, but do you want to create a tax district, a TIF district for your district?
Well, there's already a TIF district there are multiple TIF districts in my district. And so that's something that, we've seen. That's something that we're working towards. What I like to see is, us update the TIF laws to allow us to develop on some of these old military installations. And that's something that I'm looking at doing in the legislature as well.
State Representative Marvin Pendarvis, thank you so much for your time. And again, welcome back to Quintin's Close-Ups.
It's always a pleasure. Happy Martin Luther King Day. Thank you for your time, Quintin.
Thank you.